from the Republic of Kenya, join me to welcome Stofresh Africa. Woo! Stofresh Africa.
So good morning, everybody. My name is Charles Oyamo from Kenya. And before we start, I'd like to start with a story. So you see, growing up in an African context, I wanted to be many things at different times. But never in my younger years did I ever want to be a smallholder farmer. So depending on who was the coolest dressed person in the village or who drove the best cars, at one point I'd be a doctor, the other time I'd want to be a recording artist, and at some point, depending on the traffic police officer, I'd want to be a traffic police officer. And the reason I didn't want to be a smallholder farmer is, you see, back in my village in Rongo, which is 300 kilometers from Nairobi, the poorest people are smallholder farmers. 7 out of 10 poor people across sub-Saharan Africa are smallholder farmers. Yet, they produce up to 80% of the total agricultural produce. And the problem smallholder farmers face is pretty much simple from our research. We realized that smallholder farmers, like the mother of one of our co-founders, don't have direct access to markets. Now this means that smallholder farmers are forced to sell to middlemen or lose more than as high as 50% of their produce. So on top of smallholder farmers not having direct access to markets, they don't have storage facilities. So with this in mind, we came up with a solution, Stofresh. So what Stofresh does is, Stofresh connects smallholder farmers to shared cold storage facilities when there is a surplus production, so that they could hold on to their produce and sell it when there's increased demand. How Stofresh works is simple. The farmer can register via 2 ways. Number one, the farmer can register via USSD and give us their name, the type of crop they grow, the size of their land, and the size of their land. With this information, you can create a profile for this farmer. But we realized smallholder farmers across Africa really trust people they can talk to. So that is why we also have agents in these villages where the farmers will go to and register via agents. Now, as the farmers registers, we create a profile for this farmer. When the farmer transacts, now transacting on our platform means when the farmer either stores their produce with us or they sell their produce through us, we are able to give this farmer transactional data. They could use this data to get credit facilities. We are distributing this produce to food distribution companies. Now, you realize in Kenya we have a lot of food distribution startups, the likes of Twiga, Wasoko, and the rest. But they are focused on the demand side, so solving for vegetable vendors and small restaurants. But for us, we are focused on the smallholder farmers. Across sub-Saharan Africa, we have approximately 33 million smallholder farmers, but we don't have the resources or the reach to reach all these farmers. That is why we are starting closer home with a little number compared to that 3 million, starting with 1 million farmers spread across 3 agricultural counties, Kirinyaga, Kiambu, and Kajiado. Our business model is pretty much simple. We are charging smallholder farmers $0.5 per crate per day to store their produce. And since we are a tech solution, we are outsourcing this cold storage, and we have a profit margin of 40%. Now, in the next 3 years, we are projected to generate $5.6 million in annual revenue, working with 100,000 farmers. Now, we are not the first people trying to solve the agricultural value chain across Africa. But what sets ourselves apart is we are creating a platform that allows farmers to store and sell their produce directly. And we are outsourcing this storage. So this makes us highly scalable. Our impact, in the next 5 years, we want Stofresh to reduce post-harvest losses by 98%. We want to increase farmers' income by 40% and create more than 70 employment opportunities. Since winning the national on campus, since winning the national round, we've gone on to secure a cold storage partnership for 16,000 crate capacity. We have 30 farmers waiting to store their produce when we start our pilot. Our next step is to complete our pilot in August, storing 100 crates per day. We want to work with 1,000 farmers by December of this year, and we want to expand into southern parts of Tanzania, where they farm a lot of tomatoes also. We are asking for $2,000 to help us fund our pilot program, and this will go into product development, our operation costs, and marketing. The team behind it is a self-taught developer, a social entrepreneur, a marketing expert, and a numbers guru. But most importantly, we are the children and grandchildren of smallholder farmers. So in a continent where we spend more than 50% of our income on food and our smallholder farmers are some of the poorest people, we ask you to join us as we create the zero food waste supply chain
Thank
today.
you so much. Now we invite our judges. Thank you so much. I'm also a child of a smallholder farmer.
Thank you so much. My question would be, for how long will the farmers be able to have access to this storage space? Also, is this dependent on the type of crop, or this is generally for all the crops?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that question. So when we are doing our research, we realized we can't solve for all crops or all produce because they take different times to mature and they need different temperatures. For example, whenever you store apples together with carrots or tomatoes, it's a disaster in the making because apples will make tomatoes ripen faster. So we started with the crop that is most eaten, so that is tomatoes. And we realized that tomatoes go bad very fast. Yeah, tomatoes only take 75 days. But right now in Kenya, there are no tomatoes in the market, so they go for as high as $40 per crate. Now, when there's surplus, farmers sell these tomatoes to middlemen for as low as $7 per crate. But if you can store this tomato for 30 more days, you can sell it making a profit. When the farmer pays us for 30 more days, they'll pay us $12, they'll earn $20 more, they sell it at $40 per crate.
If I may go next, yeah. What kind of facility is this that you're talking about?
Sorry?
What kind of facility is it that you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. So the facilities you're working with is the 16,000 crate capacity. So the facilities you're working with essentially is, you see, we have a lot of people who have engineering knowledge to build these cold storage units. But traditionally, cold storage are built for commercial purposes or for export businesses. So what we are looking at is approaching these cold storage facilities as a large business, but then we're aggregating this produce from farmers and then taking them to these already existing facilities.
Yeah, and the way you spoke earlier is as if they already exist.
Yes.
The cold storage facilities.
Oh, so we have, I don't know if I'm getting your question correctly.
No, you said that you would rent the cold storage facilities.
Yes, we rent the cold storage facilities. We
They
outsource.
already exist
Yes, they exist.
in the last mile where the smallholder farmers are.
Oh yeah, so that's the thing. We are looking at, we have mobile units that could be transported to where the farmers are, but the problem is you can't transport a full cold storage for one particular farmer. So what we are doing is with our platform, when we know a farmer has, for example, tomatoes that we are starting with, tomatoes take 75 days. So when the farmer plants, we are able to tell the time when the farmer will harvest. So we are able to aggregate the produce, the tomatoes of farmers, for example, in Kirinyaga. And then when we send out a truck goes and picks all those tomatoes and then takes them to the central facility that is way larger.
Oh, so there's a central facility.
Yes, there's a central facility.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. If I understand the model correctly, you are working, your primary customers are farmers.
Yes.
And then you act through, because you don't own the facilities, through people who have this storage space.
Yes.
So how are you controlling the number of farmers in a particular area and the remaining storage at a nearby facility that can accommodate? Because if we sign up being 40 farmers and there is only space in that warehouse, whatever, storage facility for 2 people, so it will create, it will be a killer effect for your business.
Yeah.
So they will not have where to store their produce.
Absolutely, Judge Patrice, and I agree with you. One of the biggest challenges we realized, we can't have the number of control in how much quantity farmers store. You see, for tomatoes, a smallholder farmer that is on 1.5 acres of land or less, they produce around 300 to 450 crates of tomatoes. Now, with our facility, 16,000 crate facility, we are able to, we can't store more than, I didn't do the math, but we have a limited capacity. So how we are able to do this, I think it's an operational expense that we'll have to cater for. Whenever we have higher demand in a particular area, we'll just have to increase the capacity of our storage units. But for now, we are working with farmers, or for our pilot program, we are working with farmers who...
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of that session. Round of applause.